Hey everybody, it's RighteousFreed. This video is going to be a type I haven't done in a while. It's going to be a how-to build video and how I feel Noemi should be built. As you've probably seen in quite a few of my other Apex videos, I love playing with Noemi. She's honestly one of my favorite. I severely regret missing out on getting her Lady of the Night skin. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh well. Can't change the past. We just gotta move forward. And this is how I like to play her, and some advice if you want to start playing her in your box. So first thing, Noemi is a mage. Both of her classes, well actually all three of her classes, but we don't use summoner. You do not need to go all roots to get summoner. She is a very offensive mage. She is not meant to be a primary support. She does have some supportive abilities that we'll get to later. But the Arachnid, the Spider Demon Elf, it can cast an ability to lower their movement, but you're not going to use that on her. With all the mobility with all the mobility down protections, it's not worth it. Not worth having that summon. There's going to be very few instances you want to use this over an attack spell. So, going to our main two classes, there is Spellweaver and Wizard. Spellweaver has higher magic defense, and Wizard has higher int. So, want to go Wizard, it's just the best. Deal that extra damage. So, just go from Mage down to Spellweaver, and then finally going back to Archmage and ending in Wizard. Again, the Summoner class, not needed. Only 80 HP plus 5 defense. You're not missing out on anything. Don't waste that. You don't need to waste that Ruin Stone unless you have a ton extra. So, with that said, her factions are Legion of Glory. We have Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier. And you're going to be seeing Grenier is going to be pretty good as a bow master tank. He's going to have incredible counter damage. He's going to actually be pretty decent with his new 3C coming out, but that'll be a later video. Primarily, you are going to want to pair her with Elwyn as much as possible. With his faction buff, she can one-shot just about any DPS. Hilda, since she's primarily going to be Lancer tank. Very few have survived if they've gone cavalry against me, or they only live with like a couple hundred HP. Even with because they've taken Crystal Molder. Ledin is good too, just give her the buff. Like, you won't be able to make use of his special buff because his only works when attacked. But, hey, she needs all the stats she can get. And Langrisser Reincarnation Tensai. Ares and Hilda, of course. Hilda is great. It is slightly less powerful than Elwyn's, but 3% is nothing that you're going to miss. Incredible. So, even if you're not going to run a straight Legion of Glory box, you want to run mostly Langrisser Reincarnation. Perfectly fine. Hilda is a great faction buffer for her. Going into her stats, she has pretty decent HP. Could be a little higher, but for a mage, that'll do. With all the equipment she's going to be using, she's going to have pretty decent HP. And you want to go for high HP enchants as well as int. Her talent, when Noemi has less than 3 debuffs, it is increased by 5, 8, 11, and 15% at 3, 4, 5, and 6 stars. As you can see, I'm still working on building her up, but even at 5 stars, she is a monster. If I can get her to 6 stars, I'm pretty sure I can annihilate any I will annihilate any Pure Lance or Hilda no matter what. And if a Hilda goes cavalry with her 3C to try to avoid getting one shot, I should still put her at almost 0. Second part, after taking action for the first time and when the hero dies, you apply magic garments to all units, including yourself. When the unit HP is below 80%, the next instance of damage you take is reduced by 20, 30, 40, and 50% HP at 3, 4, 5, and 6 stars. So, at 6 stars, your tank takes a hit. You heal it up. They're below 80%. They go to take another hit. Bam. Max star rank, they take 50% reduced damage. They laugh it off. Didn't hurt them at all. Didn't even tickle. It's very great. It can even save your DPS. If somebody attacks them without using a skill, like your Elwyn just got into a battle, ended like at 72% HP. Someone goes in to kill him, as long as they're not a Lancer, he's probably going to survive and live to regenerate. So this is it's not the easiest to use, because remember, you have to be below 80% HP. But when you are, it's incredibly powerful, because it's going to make them think, can I kill him? I don't have a skill. Should I risk it? And the fact that, oh, boom, they got rid of it the first time on your tank. You use Noemi, you go to kill somebody, and then she dies. You would intentionally put her out of position so they would kill her. All you do is get magic garments again, protect again. Alright. So with that said, she gets insane near the end of the video. I'm going to show you what she gets while being in Apex Arena, and if I can find a short video there, and also just what she is outside. Pretty awesome. Probably just going to show you it in the Geyer event, a Secret Realm event, just to show you there, because she just basically gets an extra 52 in the arena. But now we're going to move on to skills. We're going to start off with her 3C, Strategist Garb. Active skill. The next 2 times you initiate combat, unit damage taken is reduced by 20% and damage dealt is increased by 20%. Absolutely incredible. If for some reason you find yourself against Lolly Jessica, this can mean the difference between living and surviving from a counterattack. And this extra 20% just helps you nuke everything. It makes up for what you don't get in her talent, because damage up is absolutely incredible. While this state is active, unit range is increased by 2. After taking action, restores HP equal to int times 1.5 and dispels 1 debuff. This is such an incredible ability for her. So, pop it, boom, immediately she goes from 2 range to 4 range. Even with basic attacks. This will let her stay within tank range and nuke any of your other enemies. Super, super powerful. This is one of the things I love, and you're going to see with the equipment just how sneaky she can be. Now, the fact that you heal after fighting is also very powerful. If you go up against a Hilda, they're going to have the magic reflect golems, both to counter Elwyn, because you're most likely going to play him as well, and to counter you. If you don't die from the Crystal Molders Reflect and the Thorns combo, you're going to heal up, and you probably will be just under 80%. So if an AoE comes in, you'll survive. That, and you also dispel a debuff, so that way you can constantly keep her talent up. So if people are putting in like a debuff or 2 on you, boom, you end your turn, debuff gone. It is beautiful. And all effects of the skill cannot be dispelled. So they come up to you, they do anything, any other skill to dispel. You try it, Bozo sleeps you. Oh, well, I just keep this, I just gotta wait an extra turn. No need to worry. Which leads us, she has ice to counter lancers, and she has fire to counter infantry, and a nice little cleanse if you ever do go up against demons. Pretty versatile. The only thing she doesn't have is lightning bolt, lightning strike in order to counter cavalry, but hey, they can't give her everything, right? Well, not yet at least. Most of the time you're going to be using ice lance and free strike because you're going to be coming across lancer tanks. You need to be able to one-shot them. She is a great tank buster from range. Kind of one of the reasons why I realized she was super good and wanted to play her. Now, the modifiers are still 1.5, even though it's a 2 cost. That's perfectly fine. Super effective against lancers, going to deal extra damage. After battle, the block hit by this is going to have the frozen realm for 2 rounds. Any unit that moves onto it has their mobility reduced by 2 after taking action. It lasts 1 turn. So, even if a Hilda goes to block for somebody, it casts it on the spot you casted it at. So, they have, let's say, a Bozel there. Cast Ice Lance. Hilda guards, you kill Hilda. Ice goes under Bozel and affects him. So now he is reduced to 2. If he doesn't have boots, he's only going to be able to move 1 square unless he gets it dispelled first. Going to have lots of uses. Going to be your bread and butter. Free strike is basic, just deals extra damage against lancers. Fireball, extra damage against infantry. Her other unique, Pillar of Flame, super effective against infantry. After battle applies Ember to the blocks hit in a cross formation. So the spot you target and 1 block to the up, down, left, and right for 2 rounds. And when they move onto it, to take 15% of max HP as fixed damage. Now, after you cast this, if for some reason they live, it will deal that damage to them immediately. So they could live at like 200 HP. Boop, fixed damage kills them. Now, you're mostly going to be using this against rush comps because they aren't going to have tanks, so you don't need this. And you're going to need all the damage to kill somebody in case they have like angels or something. Now, cleanse you will use if for some reason you come across demons or Ice Lance. Pillar of Flame doesn't seem like your cup of tea. Honestly, I don't feel this is the best because you're either going to kill somebody or not at all. Cleanse here has 2 rounds of cooldown, and Ice Lance, Pillar of Flame, and their respective weaker ones only have 1 round. You can just constantly rotate and always have one of these up for extra damage. One of the beauties of Noemi here, you'll never have to use a basic attack with her. Now, she also does have Accelerated Aid. After taking action, increases mobility of 1 adjacent unit by 1 and grants immunity to mobility reduction and cursive wounding. Lasts 1 turn. If you're fighting against a specific enemy, you could possibly take out free strike, put this in. It's going to be fine. You know, like you need to keep your juggler from cursive wounding because they are still playing a Listel for some reason, even though Resentseal's alive. Now, most of the times you're not going to use this. This is going to be in super specific situations, but it's nice to have the utility. You're never going to use Magic Defense Intimidate because you are never going to be within 3 blocks of somebody until the late game. It is not worth it. Do not use it. Now, last but not least, Magic Stitch can have its uses. After taking action, applies a magic mark to 1 random unit in the danger zone. Damage taken from the enemy is increased by 5%. Last 3 turns can stack up to 3 times. Total plus 50% damage received by her. When initiating battle against enemies possessing a magic mark, Noemi restores the HP equal to 20% of the damage dealt and dispels 1 magic mark effect. Basically, you can take out free strike, for example, leave this in here, and you can just wait a couple turns to make sure you nuke somebody. You kind of aren't going to do that because they won't leave let you get in range for too long without having a way to attack and try to kill you. So, but can have specific uses if you want to build it up. If there are other tanks there, like if they have a Cavalry Landius and he has Templar Knights, you can use this in order to give yourself a chance to kill him. Alright, that's going to do it for the skills here. So you're always going to have Strategist Garb, and then it's either going to be Ice Lance and Free Strike. Sometimes you can split them up depending on who they have. You might take Pillar of Flame and then a Free Strike just for versatility, or vice versa. Alright. Next, we're going to move on to Mastery Stones. Going to be really quick. For Arena, HP, Int, Crit Chance, Crit Damage, and Skill. If you want to be able to get a crit as much as possible, and also this can give you a little bit of help against Omega. If Omega does not have enough skill, which he probably will. Who am I kidding? We just want that skill for the extra damage. But, hey, there's no point in defense. If she's going to die, she's going to die. She's too squishy. She should always, with her range, be in protection of a tank. For armor and headwear, it's going to be HP, Int, defense for a little bit of survivability. Just got to keep that up. That way you can potentially survive an Ares if he Wind Whispers you. For weapon and accessory, it's going to be Int, HP, and Skill. Again, just try to max out getting that crit chance and that raw damage. For soldiers, you're going to have two real choices. Sorceress, you're going to use 95% of the time. They are just amazing. Full health, extra 45% attack and magic defense. These are going to be your bread and butter, help you nuke anything and everything. Wizard, if your opponent has tons of AoE units, they get a Bozel through, they get a Kruger through. It can be hard to stay at full health and get Sorceress's extra damage. Now, I don't have Wizard built, probably should, but you can bring him instead because he doesn't have an HP requirement to keep his attack and magic defense. So, food for thought. That way you can just switch him in if they manage to get a bunch of AoEs. You're not going to use Spider, Demon, Elf because you don't care about reducing their mobility, and the magic defense reduction is not going to make up for the loss in extra attack that they get. Firebrand Sniper is the only other one that you might consider because he gets extra attack increase just for attacking, and he deals extra damage equal to... let's check out Langrisser real quick. Soldiers. You can't see this on my side. At max rank, they deal 15% of the enemy's HP as fixed damage. So you can combo them with Pillar of Flame, deal 30% of their health after battle. So, oh, I lived. I'm at 15% health. Bloop, bloop. And then they die. Other than that, you're not going to use any of these other units. So, like I said, 95%. This is like 4.9%, and this is 0.1%. Alright, with that said, we're moving on to equipment. Now, there are a few choices. Scepter of Divinity is the most coveted weapon right now, I believe. Gives, when on terrain with no defensive bonus and using range skills to initiate battle, unit range is increased by 1. This effect overrides effects that ignore melee damage reduction. Basically, you can't use this with like a discipline skill. It's worded poorly. So Free Strike it works, Discipline it doesn't. Air Slash it does not, for example. But now, one of the most noticeable things here, you only get 5% HP, you don't get an imp boost. So you're gonna, so but everybody knows the extra range makes up for losing that imp boost. Get a really high percentage instead of flat. I wish this was HP right here. But this is gonna be the best weapon. If you don't have it, Red Moon is your next best choice. Always good. Gives you an extra 10% int so you can hit harder. So it gives you HP. Solid all around. Blue Moon after that. But you need more survivability. You're not going to use Miracle Advent. She doesn't have AoEs. And Astaroth, they need a debuff already on them in order to get the imp boost. So if you're in like a combo type of box with people who deal AoEs, that can work. But you mostly don't want this. This is for somebody like Lana, basically. Pale Staff, at max rank, damage increases by 15% when casting single target skills, and then you have a 50% chance of afflicting the enemy with a random debuff. So, this is actually pretty decent. This can make you hit harder as well, just with raw extra damage percentage. So, get Scepter Divinity if you can. Otherwise, Red Moon or Pale Staff if possible. For armor, Tenure's Robe is going to be the best. Super high HP, good defense, keeps you alive, and gives you plus 10% HP. When you're attacked, you have a 30% chance of dispelling an enemy buff and inflicting a random debuff. You could dispel their attack buff and then put a damage dealt down on there. That could mean a difference combined with your talent of Magic Garments of living and dying, even if it's at a couple HP. If you do not have Tenyos, Galaxy Cloak is an okay secondary unit because it gives you HP and some magic defense. You can trade blows with other spellcasters. You're not going to use Twilight Garb because you don't heal. Goddess Dress, it can help you because you do regenerate after battle, but it gives you just flat defense, so this was basically made for Yulia. You're not going to use Baldur's White Robe because this is if you're getting melee attacked. If you're getting melee attacked and not guarded, you're probably dead anyways. Tenure's Robe isn't too hard to find, so definitely try to get that ASAP. That is going to be your bread and butter, keep you alive from AoEs. For your headgear, we have a contender for being slightly better than Tenyos. So, Thinking Cap, cute puppy hat, gives you good HP, gives you plus 10% HP, magic defense. This is her unique equipment. This is amazing. After taking action, all units with magic garments dispel 1 debuff from themselves and restore 5% HP. After using Strategist Garb, this skill can take effect 1 additional time, meaning your Strategist Garb gets an extra charge. So instead of, we'll go back here, instead of 2 turns, it's 3 turns, making it even better. So you can just keep the long range at 5 range up if you have Scepter Divinity. Now, if you don't have the controllers for Thinking Cap, or you just don't want to spend it on there, you can do Tenyos. Tenyos is never a bad choice. Plus 10% HP, can give a random buff to a friendly unit within 2 blocks. Can be Tenyo Breeze, can be HP Restore, could be damage dealt, increase, damage received, reduced. The best headgear in the game of any non-exclusive equipment. Now, if you can't get Thinking Cap, don't have Tenyos, other equipment you can use We have the new Holy Aegis, plus 10% HP. Before being forced into battle, heals 10% of HP if you use this form of mixed forces. You're not going to get this, but it blocks a fatal strike caused by fixed damage. So if you somehow live at a couple hundred and Hellfire Archer or something else deals, just that much to kill you, you will revive at exactly 1 HP. Can mean the difference between winning and losing. You can also use Yggdrasil Wreath, 10% HP again. After taking action, grants a friendly unit next to you 20% extra magic defense and negates stun, buff block, and speed decrease, mobility reduction, for 1 turn. You can give her a little bit of utility there. Soul Stealer gives you magic defense, and it has to be somebody within 3 blocks. If you're staying at 5 or 4 range, this will not happen. I don't recommend this one. Odin's Battle Helm is the same thing. You're going to be staying as far away as possible. You're most likely not going to be within 3 blocks of somebody. Other than that, Dark Crown, if you have nothing else, gives you some HP. It's pretty standard. Witch's Remembrance gives you HP. After taking action, increases the skill of a friendly unit by 20% at max rank. Grants immunity to heal reversal, and effects that stop you from acting again for 1 turn. That can be useful. Again, gives her a little bit of utility. But, in conclusion, I personally feel Thinking Cap is better for her because what'll happen is your allies are affected with magic garments. They will end their turn. They will dispel a debuff. If you have Leaden, this will keep his, and he has Redeemers, this will keep his Redeemers active. If somebody just keeps putting 1 debuff on him, he ends his turn, dispels it, even if he had 2 or 3 turns on him, and then his Redeemers can revive if he gets 1 shot. Also keeps giving a little bit of HP, so if somebody keeps getting poked, this can just bring them back to full. Like if they go to 98 or 99, this can be the difference at having a juggler at full HP for last rites to activate, or him getting 1 shot. Personally, I feel this is just amazing because it also helps her if you go against a debuff team just constantly dispelling everything. From here, we're going to let's take a look at Wiki Grisser real quick. For accessory, one of the best accessories right now is Twilight Star. Before attacking, deals fixed damage equal to 1 times of the unit's lower stat of either attack or int. If the enemy is using mixed troops, this cannot be immunized against. So, this is great. It breaks last rites. It breaks anything that requires 100% HP. Many people are trying to get this in droves for all of their DPS. Well, for like most of them. Elwyn is going to use Swordsmith Metal. That way he can't get 1 shot by like a Zerida with Hellfire Archers. But this is going to be the best. You're going to want this to break last rites. It's going to give you that extra bit of oomph. If you have it, I do recommend using it. Now, if you're like me and you don't have one, there are a few options. Right now, I am running a Dimensional Jewel because I got a great enchant here. 10% int, 5% in both the defensive stats. I wish this was HP, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Dimensional Jewel is really good as well. When attacking with a skill, 30% chance to reduce the cooldown by 1. So you can just constantly keep using the stronger, like Ice Lance, Ice Lance, Ice Lance. Fire, Fire Strike, Fire Strike. Or Pillar of Flame, I should say. Super good there. Other options, if you don't have something like this, Swordsmith Metal will always be good. Keeps them from getting silenced and taking fixed damage. Gives them stats to everything. Star Earring is great. Battling against Assassin and Archers, your defense goes up by 30%. That can help you live as well. Gives you 8% int. Gives you HP and int here. Super good as well. Do not recommend Overlord's badge. Only gives attack. Let's see. Where is the next one? One of the other things you can do, you can have Holy Ring. Grants immunity to silence. Gives you magic defense and int with plus 8% int. If you worry about getting silenced, this can be a great thing because Noemi is best when using her skills to deal infinitely more damage. This is always a great option. It doesn't have the HP, so you do suffer from minus like 500 HP. But trade-offs. If you find that you're playing against a lot of people and they keep silencing you, you might want to run this instead. If you find that you're dying when you should have lived by a couple HP, you might want to go Dimensional Jewel or Star Earring. Vidar's Rose can be good as well. If for some reason you don't nuke the person, there's a chance to dispel one buff from the enemy. So, never a bad thing. It's better for AoEs, but hey, great as well. Let's see. You can also do a Meditation Ring if you want immunity to fixed damage as well, but this only gives 5% in. Alright, that is going to do it for the accessories. So, I do recommend Twilight Star, but if you're like me and don't have one, you're going to have to make do with something else. Dimensional Jewel is great because it can also allow you to, instead of running this free strike here, you can do Magic Stitch, for example, and then you can just gamble on Dimensional Jewel proccing whenever you do Ice Lance, for example. Alright, here we are going to take a quick detour for her Heart Bonds. Alright, for her level 4, when you are a wizard, your AoE damage taken is reduced by 10%. Flat out, just good. When you're a Spellweaver, when forced into battle through an attack from a debuffed enemy, damage taken is decreased by 10%. So this only applies to single targets, and they must already have a debuff. Don't like it. This is why Wizard is better. For a level 7 bond, when you're Spellweaver, when forced into battle through a magic attack, damage dealt is increased by 10%. So basically, your counter damage is increased by 10%. Not great. You should not be getting forced into battle. And Wizard, when forced into battle through a physical attack, damage dealt is increased by 10%. This one's bad. You're never going to get it. So, Wizard technically takes the cake with AoE damage reduced by 10%. Alright, we're nearing the end. Now, units that she combos great with, as discussed before, Elwyn. His faction buff gives her 20, or not 20, gives it 15% extra damage as long as the HP is above 80%. Super powerful. There is an HP restriction, but with her talent, she's going to have a hard time being kept below 80%. Let-in increases stats as well. Always nice. Hilda. Her faction buff. Their single target skill damage is increased by 12%. She's always going to have a single target skill, so that's great. No HP requirement, so that's even better. Counter tech damage increased by 12%, and she's not going to use that part. And then, of course, Ares. If you, for some reason, do use his faction buff, it's not the best. For every one enemy within 3 blocks, damage dealt is increased by 5%, up to 20%. You have to be positioned perfectly to really get that and not be in a bad position to die. You generally do not want don't have to get magic garments again by sacrificing Noemi unless there's a very specific, like, one-off scenario. Now, Noemi, she just wants all the buffs possible, just increase her stats. Elwyn is going to be the best for her. Hilda is second. You can even argue Hilda's better because there's no HP requirement. But I personally like comboing Elwyn with Noemi because I could just nuke Hilda and then use Elwyn to finish everybody else off. Now, Noemi works great comboed with Light of Genesis and SP Hein. Having access to teleports, moving her around, positioning her to the right way. She can get somebody far off. With her range, she can have basically cover the entire map. Let's see. And then, last but not least, we're going to talk about the enchants on our weapons. As you can see, I have Breeze on here. Breeze is going to be the best for her. Damage with 2 pieces, attack and int plus 5%. 4 pieces, damage dealt increases by 10%. After taking action, 30% chance to increase mobility by 2, lasting a turn. Having a 5 mobility mage with 5 range, you can cover 10 blocks. After the second turn, you can basically hit anywhere on the map unless they literally hide in the corner. Breeze is just the best. We'll just pop in here. Other enchants. You can do Full Moon if you don't have Breeze. When HP is above 80%, all offensive and defensive stats increase by 10%. So you can get just higher int, but the damage percentage will be a lot better. Magic is bad. We'll just say that. Skill damage increases by 10%. AoE increases by an extra 5%. She has no AoE, so she's only just going to get 10% extra skill damage. So, while you're always going to have a skill with how low her cooldowns are, it's just not worth wasting the resources on here where you can get Breeze. I would only use this if you're first starting out and don't have Breeze enchants. You're not going to use any of the defensive abilities here. No green, no blue. They're not good for her. She is not meant to be a crit assassin, so using these are not recommended. And Rough C is only good for physical attackers. Now, Clock, because her cooldowns are so low, it's not going to do you any good. So I don't recommend that. Again, Breeze. If you don't have Breeze, I would do Full Moon. But honestly, just wait till the next week and get those Breeze enchants. Alright. That is going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. This is how I like to play Noemi. And then we're just going to pop over here. Challenge events for Twisted Fate. Put Elwyn here. Alright. Eternal Light. Strategist Garb. Alright. She gets the 1366 outside of Arena. With plus 52, she gets the 1418. She can nuke anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Nobody has magic defense except for specific tanks, like Amelia, maybe Hilda a little bit. The massive attack from Sorceress at full HP. Oof, nothing to sneeze at. When in arena, her HP gets to just over 9,000. So, in conclusion, Noemi is a beast. She is basically an upgraded version of Lana and what Lana wishes she could be. Getting a max range of 4. Oof. How can you compare anymore? But that is going to do it for Noemi. She is, again, one of my favorites. Use her regularly. Go check out my Apex videos if you want to see some examples. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. I do appreciate the support. Until next time, RighteousFreed out.